that no one thought after January 6th America's standards would be low enough to let this douchebag have the nuclear codes again. We didn't realize that white people would be that shitty. We really thought, yes, okay, white people, you got away with 12 years of trickle down and it blew up in your face. And then you got away with the impeachment of Bill Clinton and it blew up in your face. And Sarah Palin was an idiot and there were no WMDs and Bush and Cheney trashed the global economy. And we warned you about all of this. We were right every time. You hated us for being right. We warned you about Trump. We were right about everything. Recession began before COVID. He coasted on Barack Obama's recovery numbers. I say to MAGA people all the time, show me the Barack Obama economic trend that Donald Trump reversed. And rather than just coasted on, black unemployment was cut in half under Obama. Under Trump, the trend continued one more point, and Trump kept eating Big Macs and said, "See, I'm not racist." So
he created all those black jobs for them, right? I think that's what he did. Yeah.
Joe Biden came in really determined to be a conciliatory government. And he wanted to restore confidence. He wanted to rebuild the culture of the DOJ. So he picks Merrick Garland instead of a more aggressive prosecutor to be the attorney general. And the Biden administration believed that fixing the political culture would heal America. And they were not interested in putting Donald Trump in jail. They never were. Now, I would say that the greatest mistakes in our history are not punishing the bad guys.
Yes.
More or less, Mr. Lincoln dies and the Confederates get a slap on the wrist and they're allowed to have 100 years of apartheid.
100 more years of Jim Crow. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, nobody got in trouble for Iran-Contra. And that was the greatest scandal of my lifetime. No one got in trouble.
HW made sure also to talk about pardons when we're
Christmas
freaking
Day
out right now. Yep.
Pardoned all of them, right?
Casper Weinberger. Yeah, got a good deal.
We get lied into war in Iraq, and Pelosi and Schumer come in and take power in 2006 and say, day one, impeachment's off the table. If you've raised a toddler, there have to be consequences at some point for childish, awful behavior. I'm not talking violence, but I'm talking consequences. But we're not big on consequences when it comes to our right wing in this country. We never have been. We let them get away with everything, and then we pretend that we're the peacemaker. And this is the only pattern that's ever happened in presidential politics in my lifetime. Everyone's all shocked. Folks, look at the last half century. Democrats only get in after Republicans burn the house down. Jimmy Carter got in because of Watergate. Clinton got in because 12 years of trickle down finally collapsed. Barack Obama got in because the worst president in history, George W. Bush, trashed everything.
And the crash, a housing crash, right?
The housing crash, the war, all of it, the global recession, the housing crash, all of it preventable. We warned them about it. Biden gets in because of Donald Trump, who might be worse than Bush. I love the debate about which one's actually a worse president, because Trump killed more Americans, Bush killed more humans. Biden gets in then. We've never seen a Democrat get the White House when things were okay. Al Gore didn't do it.
No, you're right. Not in recent years.
The country has to be on fire.
And most of the time, a point that I would add to your point is it ends up having to be like the orator of a generation, right? It has to be Bill Clinton or Barack Obama or somebody that is so gifted at communications that they can overcome all of the crap that gets slung in their direction by the right-wing hydra.
Well, in fairness, Bill Clinton had Ross Perot to help him in that regard. I mean, Ross Perot helped Bill Clinton a lot.
There's no doubt that did. Yes.
And again, people wonder about the voter turnout. Look, when there's high turnout, Democrats win. And in 2020, everybody was locked in their house for a year. Everybody was watching the news every day. We were all more engaged, and we all had paper ballots sitting on our coffee table. That's why there was more turnout 4 years ago.
Great point. And a lot of more people were able to mail them in.
We were trapped in our houses. We rode away and got our damn ballot sent to us. We had more time and we were more engaged. And we had a media culture that told the truth about Donald Trump rather than a media culture that didn't cover the successes of this Biden administration because they wanted their Trump-sized ratings back.
Of course. And book deals and, just that to me, I've talked a lot about the corruption of our media. I don't think they even know what their job is anymore. It's something between stenography and sensationalism.
Well, there's two groups. There's two groups, right, Cliff? There's journalists and there's media. And journalists have a responsibility to tell the truth. And media has a responsibility to get numbers for the shareholders to see so they can charge more.
Well, I always go back to network, the movie Network. I mean,
yeah.
You have messed with the primal forces of nature. I mean, that, like, basically his whole speech about there aren't countries. There's just AT&T and GE. And they predicted the future. They saw what news was becoming, that it was going to become this sideshow, sort of of ratings. When back then it was, NBC, you got a license for free from the government, and part of that is you do some public good. Part of the public good that you have to serve is by providing news and not worrying about the ratings. But I really feel like the 24-hour news stuff killed all of that. And it became all about, can we fill 24 hours with news? Of course we can't. So let's create some crap.
Driven news makes people stupid. And again, like we can, look, every Democrat I know is just in this perpetual finger pointing, circular firing squad. And I get it. You can blame Biden for not dropping out sooner. You can blame Hillary Clinton for not picking Bernie as a running mate in 2016. I mean, we could do it all day, but you blame Merrick Garland, blame Joe Biden. I don't blame Jack Smith. I blame the Supreme Court. I blame the mainstream media culture for allowing a society where people believe that Donald Trump is fighting for them, but Kamala Harris wasn't qualified to be president. And again, we also have to remember, Trump had 4 years to do this. This woman had 100 days, and in 100 days, she got the third highest vote total of any person that's ever run for president in the history of this country, 248 years. She got the third highest vote total after just 3 months of being in the race. And
no, I get mad when I hear people criticizing her.
Vote, which means the majority of Americans did vote against Donald Trump for 3 elections in a row. So this is the 49% pardon. Right? The DOJ has this policy made up during Watergate that Congress should impeach a president if they commit crimes, but we're not allowed to take a president out for doing crimes. Not in the Constitution. Rubbish. DOJ has it. You've got this corrupt Supreme Court that gave this immunity ruling that was more or less just for Trump to get his way through this election.
That they've abrogated the Constitution so many times. With their guns are an individual right, and the Shelby County undoing the Voting Rights Act, and obviously overturning Roe, but that one, I mean, is almost comical in its face that the founders, the people that were overthrowing a king, would ever have thought, let's have the ones who originally had the Articles of the Confederacy, because they didn't, without an executive, because they so feared executive power, the people that moved the capital from New York to DC, or not originally DC, but they were building it down to, I think, first to Annapolis, or Philly first. Annapolis. Point being, they moved it because they didn't want the financial capital and the political capital to be in the same city, because they worried about the corruption from those kinds of leaders. Yes, those are the guys who think a president should have immunity. Like, it's so ahistorical that it's ludicrous.